author of the Hollow Man series and owner of Hollow Man Publishing, and Frank Fiore, host of Fridays with Frank. Frank, how are you? And we have another really exciting guest, don't we?
Yep, we do. This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I think the rest of the day, if you're streaming live here, you're going to have an interesting thing. Our guest today's Adam Schomer, and he's a filmmaker talking about selling Superman. Adam, how are you? And appreciate you coming by.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for doing this. You guys are the dream team. Look at you three, just
Yeah,
crushing it.
I have to have co-hosts because it's more fun that way. But Adam,
Yeah.
kind of go into specifically enough how you became a filmmaker.
Oh my gosh, how I forget. I never dreamt of it as a kid. Let's just say that. And have an engineering degree. So there's that puzzle nature of documentary films that works as an engineer. You're always piecing together something in post-production. But I was bored with engineering and decided to do stand-up comedy, and it was one of the scariest things I ever did. That turned into doing improv comedy and learning writing, self-taught writing and producing. And then after about 4 or 5 years of that, came out to LA. I was in Detroit. That's where I trained. And then within a little while of being here in LA, I decided let's focus more on writing and producing rather than being on stage myself. And next thing you know, I was in India, and the idea for the first documentary came. My guru said to me, "Hey, do you want to go over the highest road in the world, 18,000 feet on motorcycles?" And I had never ridden a motorcycle before, and I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So that we decided that would be pretty interesting to show the world, especially some of these places and temples we went. And that I fell in love with documentary filmmaking because that was the most challenging thing I'd ever done. My life was on the line, learning everything as we went. 20 people, moving, no scouting. You're just in the middle of nowhere. And I really fell in love with this process of the unknown, this facing the unknown, this real practice of let's just see what the heck happens. And so in documentaries, that's fun. And like I said, in post-production, there's the puzzle. So that got me into it, and here we are 16 years later.
Wow. That's quite interesting. And then that it happened. So kind of go in really quickly how you came up with the idea for selling Superman.
Yeah, by no means did I come up with the idea. I mean, the title, yes. But crazy enough, a friend of mine from high school, 30 years later, called me up and said, nobody knew this, and I'm sure you didn't, but we had this family secret. My dad was hoarding comic books. He had Asperger's, so he fixated, and it really hurt the family, the collection, and the way he was treating them. But it left him with 300,000 comic books and a Superman #1, which once he got it graded it was a 7.0, making it one of the three best in the world, really. Probably worth $3 million, $4 million, just depends on the day
Wow.
you sell it. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it came to me, and I was planning on doing some other things, but that is such a unique story. And to have it be a friend that I went to high school with, played soccer with, and him be the guy that had this collection and this Superman in my hometown, that you can't say no to that, right? So I went and just did a quick weekend before their old home sold on a Thanksgiving, and I could see my family. And wow, were they great on camera. That's what really impressed me. They were honest. The mom, his brother, Darren, they were all really like allowed me into their emotions, and you don't always get that. Sometimes it's a cool story, but people can't talk on camera. And they really let me in, and I thought, oh wow, this could be something.
Something to do. Go ahead, Frank, with your question.
Yeah, just some examples here. Let's get into your book, okay? It
You mean
talking about,
the documentary, Frank? I mean,
oh,
documentary.
sorry, document. Um,
Maybe I'm
uh,
writing a book now, Frank.
okay, well, the childhood dynamics. It says you're exploring how childhood dynamics and societal pressures shape anxiety, perfection, and self-perception. Can you give examples of that, please?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's very easy to see. If you can't see it in yourself, meaning the conditioning from one's family, it's very easy to see in the series with Darren. So like very courageous on his part. But for example, specifics, Darren's father didn't say I love you. He was very much a perfectionist in terms of, okay, yeah, you got second place. Why wasn't it first? What'd you do wrong? And and he was a lawyer. He was an extremely good lawyer, top of his class at University of Michigan. This is Darren's father. So verbally really astute. And so when you would talk to him about anything, you had to be really, really prepared because he was going to hit you from every angle. And as the mom says, you couldn't really win an argument with Dale. You just couldn't. He was relentless. He would come at you, and he couldn't recognize when the discussion might be hurting you, rather than just winning, right? Like if politics were just getting into rhetoric and just wanting to win rather than actually have a discussion. And so as a father, it was relentless. So Darren, had to build up his armor, had to build up, I got to be ready for everything. If I'm going to talk to my dad about something, I better know everything about it. I better be ready for every circumstance, and I better get things totally right. And I mean, he's very honest with me. That's how his mind thinks in anything in life. If something's coming up, well, let me look at it from every angle, be totally prepared. So this idea that where I hang out in life, where I'm dealing with the unknown quite often and kind of jumping into it with what I do, is almost like the opposite sides of the spectrum. That would not be an easy thing for him to do, to jump into India not knowing how to ride a motorcycle and just see what happens. So you can imagine also that's going to bring up some tension too, even between the filmmaker and the character. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing. You look at specifically enough family dynamics, but also the fact that certain people that are really leading the way your family runs. There's that, and they affect everyone in the family for long term, not just years later, for a lifetime, and that shapes the rest of the people. Do you feel that the father shaped a lot of the kids in a way, even though they weren't his diagnosis?
Absolutely. And I love that you guys are asking about this. I think this is really, really important stuff. PTSD, sometimes people think of as from a singular event, right? That's, this happened in the war, or this accident. But it's also when you're exposed long term to kind of abnormal behavior and have to normalize it, then you get a form of PTSD, right? So if your partner just makes you walk on eggshells for so long, you start to develop this sense of, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. You start to develop as a person, like, I don't want to create conflict because my dad's going to go off the hook. So absolutely, I think Darren was shaped by his father. I can tell you, knowing Darren, he's got a great heart. He's really loves the underdog, wants to help people. And then at the same time, you have this other part of him that's maybe the perfectionist and the not so nice to himself, not so forgiving to himself. But he's just such a heartfelt, great guy. And I could see if he came in under a different parent, how different he would be in terms of how he views himself, to be honest. Really just how, it's really difficult, to be honest, to watch a friend not give themselves credit because his dad wouldn't do it. And if that's how you receive love, you start to kind of process it like that. And his brother has some special needs, a learning disability. And I'm sure that the father likewise, kept him under his thumb a little bit, especially near the end. And then, for his mom, I think his mom feels like she's out of the web of Dale. And I don't want to really paint Dale as such a bad person. He had a condition. He just didn't deal with it. He didn't get help with it. And not everyone with Asperger's is going to treat their family like this, right? Just so we're super clear. But he didn't deal with it. And he was also just the way he was beyond the condition of Asperger. So I don't think Darren or his brother have these conditions, but when you grow up with the perfectionism and you grow up with it affects us all, right? I don't know. I can see my parents in me. So it's,
I can totally see it. And then it's kind of having things to change as you grow personally, to say, oh my gosh, why am I thinking the way I'm thinking or doing the things I'm doing? It's because of my upbringing. The environment I grew up in. How do I change certain things or look at things in a different lens? And lots of people don't want to grow and change. And that is the biggest challenge for everybody, is that they go back to their days of when they were a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old or 8-year-old. And I think that's what you're talking about in this film in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think so. We learn how to receive love, or we learn love, or as Darren once says, I think in episode 3, he's like, if you don't want to be bullied, you learn to put up your defenses. And he says, sometimes it rears its head, and me and Darren and his mom and his brother end up treating each other in a certain way because it's almost like they think they're all their dad. It's like the dad's still there and they still have these defenses, and they don't realize they're not like that. they actually love each other and are kind, and they don't have to be so defensive. But they built it up, for so long. I think it's hard to just drop anything. Like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to be like that anymore. I'm just going to love myself. It's easy to say in therapy, but getting down to the cellular level and your behavior and feeling it takes some practice and maybe some years.
All right, Paul, any questions for Adam?
Here we go.
Adam, this is really fascinating for me because I see that you've taken the Superman genre, and translate that to perfection and translate that to see how that affects people at the really the basis level and how you interact with all those folks. So kudos for that commendable project there, sir. I I kind of grew up in a kind of a similar similar situation with an alcoholic father, so I can see where that your parents change or really set your personality at some levels in that. So I kind of identify with what you're doing there and love it. So uh, carry on. Yeah.
Thanks, and I love that you bring up that about Superman because yeah, on some level, Superman is a perfect right hero in terms of the powers, and there is something going on there with us wanting to be like that, right? To have all these outer powers, and and we won't. And so why are our heroes like that instead of maybe more in the Buddhist sense or the sense of like, oh, how about the happy person who's at peace with themselves being the hero? Why can't we value that a little bit more? And I do love the idea of value and what we value
I'll
and
text you
looking
back,
at that.
okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, fantastic, Adam. Frank has a final filmmaking question. Go ahead, Frank, with your filmmaking question.
Yeah, well, basically, we're in production, post-production right now, and we got to
Yeah.
create a budget, and we're going to attempt to use AI to create that budget based on the screenplay. Thoughts?
Oh my God, no, do not. That's what I would say. The AI to create well, first of all, I don't know a lot on budgeting for a written screenplay. All right, so I come more from the doc world, and in that case, we have general things, but you also don't know what's gonna happen, so you kind of just budget around where you might need to travel. But God, I cannot see AI. I don't know, maybe on a scripted, maybe because it can see where each scenes are and how many locations you might have, and so it might do an okay job. Why not run it through there and see?
No, so trust me, I would disagree on that, Adam. I honestly, that what AI is able to do is more of that
Yeah.
brainstorming in that organization, and then you feed them more information, and then they are able to do it. I was talking to
Oh.
Jack A from 227 and stuff, and she's writing her memoir now, and she's using AI to remember things she forgot from her life.
How so? It's
That was
prompting
so
her?
intriguing when I heard that. And so you have checked it out in my podcast. If you,
Okay.
yeah, I had her on today and she came up with, I said, man, I didn't think of that with AI, where I feed him information. It reminds me what I forgot.
That's amazing. If so, that's amazing.
If
So, all
that's
right.
the way
Well,
as a documentary filmmaker, you can use it. And that's how you can use it in so many ways. If you're forgetting things and saying, oh, like I was saying, oh, my days in pro wrestling, I might go back and ask, okay, I was wrestling in the Mid-South Coliseum against Jerry the King Lawler. Who were the other wrestlers that are involved in that?
fair enough. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then you remember, and it jogs your memory more. I think it could be used in memory care.
True.
It's what
True. No.
Kate said today just blew me away. And I'm like, okay, so this is where AI, we all don't understand AI in a way that it's a tool that helps us. And ultimately, when I was thinking about that budgeting proposals, AI is better than a human.
That's cool. That's cool. First of all, I want to see the budget. I think that would be great to see what it comes up with it. But like, when you're saying, it reminds you, I was just in Michigan and hanging out with some old friends from high school, and you get to like sharing stories over a beer, and you start to remember things
Yeah.
because your buddy remembers something else and something. So if AI can do that, that's cool. I prefer to go see my friends and have them.
Yeah,
do it
but just
too.
think about when you remember stuff, you forget. When AI gets better and better, it'll be like your personal computer next to it. What songs were playing during that year? Or what was
Right,
what
right.
what were some of the store AI will be able to I don't know how Jack A is using it, but probably in a lot of ways of a lot of the production she's been in, she
Right.
forgot where it was or where it took place, and then it jogs your memory, and then you throw something else
Gosh.
in. And that's something I didn't think about. Paul, did you think about using it that way?
No, actually, no. I've never thought my memory was lacking in things that I needed to know. So,
No, like a day you so you remember everything that's taken place in your life. I don't. I got to go back. So,
yeah, honestly, I have to look up street names and things like that, but yeah, I know I remember very definitely
so
on
that's
things
very
that matter
interesting.
to
But
me.
now some people
Yeah.
don't, especially celebrities that have gone through so
Okay.
many things in their lives in so many
Sure.
ways. But that's helps the process of ghostwriting using AI. I mean, it's already, I mean, I already came up with something where,
I
hey, you want somebody to help you write your book, use AI to help you write your book. And that's what Frank's
sure.
wrote a book. And Paul, tell them really quick about AI for authors. They wrote a book, Frank and Paul, using AI to write a book on how to use
Yeah, we
AI for
we since everyone seems to be afraid of AI, we sort of looked at this and said, let's ask AI what it thinks about how it can help authors, right?
Yeah.
So I just kept saying, give us more detail, give me examples, give me case studies, that sort of thing. And yeah, I ended up with like 200 pages of here's where here's where AI actually sees itself helping you do that. Not write the whole thing for you, but research and editing and
Cool.
brainstorming and all these kinds of things. So uh so we said, okay, we gave it to a guy named Malcolm. Let him be the AI bot and say, he told us this story, right? And so that's what we published to say, here's how AI sees itself, right? Helping you.
Wow.
Not us telling you, but AI itself telling you. So
I
it's
wonder if
interesting.
AI can go and research and find old documents. And that'd be interesting to look at. Say, okay,
Yeah.
let's say who was in the class of 1991. If they were able to go back and deep, well, you never know. But that's stuff that could be just created through apps. So creating an AI that's completely created based on the input you give, so the output is so good, is so important. So that's where I think, Frank, you're on the right track. That was my idea to come up with that budget. If you ask those questions, that will talk about what the average cost is for anything out there and what
Fair.
the extreme cost is. And that's how you create the budget, which take a long time. You can write SWOT analysis in hours, which would have taken days to do.
Mm.
So that's where it comes. But Adam, where can people check out your documentary? Where's the best place?
Oh, Amazon, Apple, Google Play, put in Selling Superman and you can watch it. You can watch one episode if you're like, oh, let me check it out. You can buy one episode and then I trust me, you'll be hooked. But in general, sellingsuperman.com has the links to everything. We even have a special edition that has the bonus features and Q&A and all that stuff.
All right. Thanks, Adam. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good to
All right,
be here.
that was
Thanks,
a
guys.
special simulcast of Neil Hay